Good evening and welcome to the Bhagavatam. Today we continue with the final episode of the Uddhava Gita. The Uddhava Gita is Krishna speaking to his dear friend Uddhava in the last days of his being here on planet Earth. So this is his instructions, the final instructions, and the last part of that is called Bhakti Yoga. This is where he has discussed many other aspects of wisdom and philosophy and spirituality. But then he comes to the final conclusion, Bhakti Yoga. Now, there are many different yoga systems, Ashtanga Yoga, Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Krishna has been discussing these. And when it comes to bhakti, the word bhakti is very important to understand. See, because there are many paths and religions that take you to God. There are paths that take you to the energy of God, the light of God. There are paths that take you to God, and people want to go to some heavenly planet or heavenly place where they will be with God. But the Supreme Lord does not live in heaven. He lives in a place well beyond heaven, the spiritual world, the world that is called Vaikuntha, the place beyond anxiety, beyond fear, beyond birth, death, old age, and disease. One cannot get there as long as one has desire, abhilasha. As long as you desire anything other than God, as long as you love anything other than God, not even your own salvation, even that is an impediment. Your own liberation, your mukti, your nirvana, all of that will not let you come close to God, because they are all based upon I, me, and mine, the ego. They're based upon what do I want? What makes me feel good? What will relieve my problems? What will solve my issues? We haven't let go the ego yet. But the path of bhakti takes you beyond the ego, beyond the senses, beyond the mind, and brings you from the heart to God. So, if you want that level of pure love, unconditional love, if you want that level of not just faith, but realization, direct perception of the divine, of God, then Krishna says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. One can understand me as I am, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by bhakti. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. If you want to know me, you want gyan of me, then it is through bhakti. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. And when he says, then when one is fully conscious of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Fully conscious of me. We'll be talking more about this. What does that mean? And what does it look like? And how does one discern that someone's actually on this path rather than just believing or wishing or thinking or hoping? On the spiritual path, the beginning, the key is honesty. If you really want to advance, especially honesty with oneself, which means the ability to see one's flaws and shortcomings, to be aware of the extent of one's ignorance and insignificance. If you are trying to become significant, either materially or spiritually, spiritually would be, I want to be enlightened. I want to be better than all other humans because I want to be conscious and aware. These are all egotistical things. They're all about self-aggrandizement. I want to maximize my potential. I want to be great and special. But that's not spirituality. Spirituality begins with the annihilation of this kind of thinking, of the ego. And so it begins, therefore, with being able to see one's flaws and shortcomings and the extent of one's ignorance and insignificance. And this is best done by associating and reading about advanced personalities. So when you understand these advanced devotees of God, you understand, oh my gosh, I have so far to go. And then you recognize the journey, the long journey is going to take that you need to traverse. This requires humility, which means breaking down the delusion that we are special or important or significant in any way. The greater the honesty, the greater will be the humility, and the faster will be our spiritual progress. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna, that one must think of oneself as lower than the straw in the street, lower than a blade of grass. Even the blade of grass has aham. I am a blade of grass. But as long as there is that much even of sense of this is who I am, then one cannot truly approach God. That must be released. Who am I? Must be seen in relation to God. I am yours. Tavayasmi, Tavayasmi. I am yours and you are mine. That is the only identity I have. I am the eternal servant of the divine, of God. Not only the servant of God, but the servant of the servants of the servants and the servants of God. That is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had said. He had said, Jivera Swarup hoy, the Swarup, the nature, the eternal position, Jivera Swarup, Nitya Krishna Das. We are eternal servants of God. So we must take stock. Even in material life, the principle is the same. We must take stock of what is my goal? Where am I at right now? And then only we can figure out the steps that it will take to make advancement in our life, materially or spiritually. So this chapter begins with Uddhava's honesty. He's not espousing some theory. There's no bravado. There's no spiritual posturing. Just a sincere confession. From whom? From the person who was closest to Krishna in Dwarka. From the person who was the most exalted, the most elevated. So Uddhava is saying, my dear Krishna, Achyuta. Achyuta means one who has no fault. Achyuta means fault. And he's Achyuta means without fault. You who are faultless, you are impeccable. Oh Krishna, I fear that the method of yoga described by you in the earlier chapter, which was Jnana Yoga, is very difficult for one who cannot control his mind. Therefore, please explain to me in simple terms how someone can easily execute it. You might have noticed some problems in being able to control your mind, especially in today's time where we have so many distractions and so many things that are alluring and pulling us in different directions. You may find yourself unable to control your mind. You may find it extremely difficult. Krishna does say in the Bhagavad Gita that with practice you can, but no, it's going to take more than that. There are many meditation practices. And while you might be able to control your mind while you're meditating, at best, the idea is not just to control your mind during your meditation. The idea is to be able to control your mind at all times. Always to have your mind under your control. We're so busy trying to control the world and control people and control situations and control our environment and control our bodies. We forget that the real thing to control is not all of this external stuff, but it is your mind. That's where we have to start. And not just for a little while, but all the time. So Uddhava here is exemplifying the mood with which one should approach a guru or spiritual master. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said in chapter 4, text number 34, Tad vidhi pranipatena. If you want vidya, tad vidhi pranipatena, you wish to acquire knowledge, pariprashnena seva, you must be willing to render service and ask questions. Upadakshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshana. that you must inquire from someone who is a tattvadarshi, one who has seen the truth. That person who has realized the truth, who lives the truth, who is an embodiment of the truth, the eternal truth, the Sanatan Dharma, not just some temporary truth, some made up philosophy, no. The eternal truth that is coming down from the Supreme Lord Himself and is being transmitted through a line of disciplic succession. Evam parampara praptam. It is coming through the line of parampara and is then being handed down to the disciple. If you wish to get that kind of knowledge which, when embodied, when taken in and applied, results in realization of the self and the realization of God, that kind of knowledge requires humility. Inquire submissively, what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. And render service unto such a person. Then that self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he or she has seen the truth. In today's world, we see many spiritual practitioners who talk about meditation, mindfulness, mastering the mind, but very few are able to give us this level of spiritual understanding or growth or realization because they don't have it themselves. Just to teach something, a technique, a philosophy, that's easy. But to live it, to be fully realized in it, that's a whole other thing. I can tell you about God, but unless I have seen God, unless I have experienced God, unless I have had realization, my words are just words. They're empty. And so the world has now been filled with preachers and great talkers who have many, many things to say and who can speak in very eloquent words. They have no substance. When I speak here, I speak the words of the gurus that have taught me and whose words I repeat so that I can bring them to you in a way that is understandable. But they are not mine. They are not my realizations. They are the realizations of people far more advanced than myself. So here Uddhava is speaking with great humility and he says to Krishna, O lotus-eyed Lord, generally those yogis who try to steady the mind experience frustration because of their inability to perfect the state of trance. See, samadhi. It's very difficult to reach that place of samadhi where you are in a state of trance all the time, where you are in that state of self-realization all the time. Not just for a little bit, but all the time. Thus they weary, he says, in their attempt to bring the mind under control. Uddhava is saying, he's admitting, he says, I've tried, I failed. My mind didn't cooperate. And now I'm tired. My mind isn't obeying me. And admitting one's weakness is not failure, it's clarity. Then he continues, therefore, O lotus-eyed Lord of the universe, Paramhamsas, swan-like men, happily take shelter of your lotus feet. It means the most highly evolved personalities, the most highly evolved beings, they are called Paramhamsa. Param means the great, and Hansa is swan, the great swan. The swan is known, in at least metaphorically, I don't know if it's literally, is said to have the ability to be able to separate milk from water. In other words, to separate the essence out of any concept or philosophy or theory or spirituality. Because the knowledge of what is in the scripture, what is in the teachings, whether they're Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas, or any other teaching, is not about the word. It's not about Shabda Praman, but it is about the realized understanding of those words. And that makes all the difference. Someone may grammatically read the Bhagavad Gita with perfect knowledge of Sanskrit, but not understand a single word of what is in there and completely miss the point. And someone else who has realization and who may know no grammar and may know no Sanskrit even can fully understand it because they have realization. Realization is becoming the embodiment of the teaching, not just a theoretical understanding. That's the difference. So that person is a Paramhamsa. He says, Paramhamsa, swan-like men happily take shelter of your lotus feet. Now, this doesn't refer to only men, it can be man. Women don't get caught up in that. Happily take shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of all transcendental ecstasy. It's a very famous drug these days, ecstasy. People take this pill and they want to experience ecstasy. But this ecstasy is short-lived. And then after a while, every drug brings you down. It betrays you. Then you need more and more and more and more until you're addicted and hooked. And now you can't live without it. The ecstasy that is talked about out here is transcendental ecstasy. That ecstasy which transcends the world, which doesn't come from the world, but which comes from beyond the world, which descends into us, the ecstasy of the divine's presence. That is real ecstasy. That ecstasy has no cause, no substance, no thing that you do. It is by divine grace. Uddhava continues, but those who take pride in their accomplishments in yoga and karma fail to take shelter of you and are defeated by your maya, your illusory energy. Why? Because of pride. Those who take pride in their accomplishments in yoga and karma fail to take shelter of you and are defeated by your illusory energy, maya. Think about it. All human progress, material or spiritual, comes with a downside. And that downside is pride. When we make advancement in any field, it could be science, could be mathematics, could be logic, could be philosophy, could be business, make a lot of money. Or you become famous as an actor. Doesn't matter. Whenever you make advancement in any field, your mind tends to feel superior. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Pride, whether it is about material things or about spiritual advancement, either way, it's still pride. And pride is the ego. And the ego is our cause of bondage. Bhakti doesn't ask, how enlightened are you? Bhakti isn't about technique, performance, or spiritual credentials. Instead, Bhakti focuses on humility and taking shelter of advanced souls who are taking shelter of other advanced souls who are taking shelter of the Supreme Lord Himself. Instead of enlightenment and raising of consciousness, Bhakti strives for surrender to divine will. Why? Because overcoming the mind, senses, ego, as well as the influence of one's karma, the influence of astrology, the influence of genealogy, as well as the indoctrination of society, family, media, is a huge challenge, especially in our modern times. And on top of that, trying to go beyond desire, to go beyond all the allurements that are all around us, to go beyond all the stuff that is pulling us in so many different directions. It's almost impossible. We need help, divine support, wisdom and grace to become free from the spell of the illusions of this world and its control over us. We are not free. We are not independent. We are controlled by our mind, our senses, our ego, our desires, and all the influences of this illusory world. My dear infallible Lord, he says, it is not very astonishing that you intimately approach your servants who have taken exclusive shelter of you. You intimately approach those who have taken shelter of you, those who have surrendered to you. After all, during your appearance as Ram, even while great devas, demigods like Brahma were vying for favor, you displayed special affection for monkeys such as Hanuman because they had taken exclusive shelter of you. In other words, he gave priority to Hanuman, not the great devas like Brahma. And the same we see in Krishna Lila, in pastimes of Krishna, that he gave great favor to the cowherd boys and the cowherd girls, who were simple village people, but not the same favor to Brahma or Indra or any of the other great kings. No, Krishna is not hungry for their recognition. Krishna is not hungry for our praise. Krishna is not hungry for our adoration. God is not hungry for us to tell him what a great person you are. Oh, you are the greatest. No, no. He is hungry for our love. Unconditional love. Love that is not there because we want something out of him, not because that we're trying to get something, but rather that we're trying to love him just because of who he is, because he's so adorable, because he's so wonderful, because he does such amazing things. And that you learn about in the Krishna book, in Krishna's pastimes. So this verse would unsettle anyone who thinks that God is impressed by status. Yeah, Bhakti flips hierarchy upside down. Krishna drives Arjun's chariot. Krishna becomes the messenger for Yudhishthir. He is bound by his mother Yashoda and serves his devotees. Why? Because he, the Supreme Lord of all the universes, is bound by the love and affection of his devotees. Who then, Uddhava continues, who then could dare reject you, the very soul, the most dear object of worship, the Supreme Lord of all? You who give all possible perfections to the devotees who take shelter of you. He blesses his devotees with all kinds of special qualities and perfections and siddhis and everything they need so that they can serve him. Who could be so ungrateful knowing the benefits you bestow? Who would reject you and accept something for the sake of material enjoyment, which simply leads to forgetfulness of you? And what lack is there for us who are engaged in the service of the dust of your lotus feet? Such beautiful things he's saying. Who would reject you and accept something for the sake of material enjoyment, which simply leads to forgetfulness? See, material enjoyment leads to forgetfulness of God. You have to understand this point. Material enjoyment makes us the enjoyer. I want to enjoy. And when I am enjoying, I'm not thinking of God. I'm thinking of my enjoyment. How wonderful this tastes. How wonderful this looks. What a good time I'm having. If it feels good, watch out. That which feels good is going to take you away from God unless you have somehow connected it with him. You can offer your food to God and then enjoy it, and that's wonderful. Now it's connected with him. This is prasad. You may offer your home, your partner, your children to God and see them as part of him, and then it is connected with God. And that has a very different effect because now you are in service to them. You are not trying to enjoy them. You are not the enjoyer. Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam. Krishna is the Bhoktaram. He is the supreme enjoyer. And everything that exists for his enjoyment. When we understand that we are here as part of him, and the part is meant to serve the whole, that is bhakti, that is called devotional service. Otherwise, the material world and all its pleasures make us forget God. You may say, oh, well, I go to the temple or I go to the church or whatever on Sunday, but the rest of the time you're not thinking of God. You're thinking of your enjoyment, a lovely meal, dancing, singing, partying, going to vacations, whatever else you can do to enjoy. That's only taking you away from God. The standard, the bar of bhakti is very high. So we'll learn more about that. It's not this religious, washed down, watered down kind of connection with God. Uddhava says, oh my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with a prolonged lifetime like Brahma, who lives for billions of years. where you appear in two features, externally as the Guru, the Acharya, and internally as the Paramatma, the Super Soul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. So really want you to understand this. There are those who have tried poetically to express how wonderful Sri Krishna is, because he wants us to come to him, and he comes himself personally. Millennium after millennium, Krishna says, I advent millennium after millennium to give you this knowledge, to give you the knowledge by which you can come to him. He makes it simple, as easy as possible. Then he comes as Krishna, then he comes as Chaitanya. And as Chaitanya, he makes it even simpler. So you can't follow all that philosophy. All right, I will just give you a very simple thing. Chant this name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Chant this simple mantra. 3 words. Hare Krishna and Rama. Hare is Radha, the feminine. Krishna, Supreme Lord, the Supreme Enjoyer. And Rama, which is all powerful. So chant these names of God and you will come to God. It's as simple as that. Just by chanting his names. They are so powerful. They are no different than Krishna himself. And he comes again and again and again to show us the way. Through so many teachers, there have been so many gurus. There have been so many messengers. There have been so many messiahs. There have been so many who have come to show us the way. Through all of them, he keeps coming again and again and again to help us. So this shows how merciful he is. He appears externally as the Guru, the teacher, the Acharya, and internally as the Super Soul, the Paramatma, guiding us from within to give us the confirmation that yes, follow this person. So this is not poetry. This is the architecture of bhakti. The Supreme Lord comes to us externally to give us guidance. Internally, we receive confirmation and validation. Without both, spirituality becomes authoritarian or delusional. Bhakti is neither about belief nor about abstract philosophy. It is relational and reciprocal. In other words, you form a relationship with God and you experience how he is there for you, how he takes care of you, how he connects with you, how he loves you. Krishna says, as they surrender unto me, I reward them, I reveal myself to them accordingly. To what degree are you surrendering to Krishna, to God? To that degree, he will reciprocate with you. So this is real connection. So, thus questioned by the most affectionate Uddhava, Sri Krishna, the supreme controller of all controllers, Ishvara Parama Krishna, he is the Param Ishwar, the supreme controller. Ishvara means controller. Param means the greatest. The supreme controller of all controllers, Sri Krishna, who takes the entire universe as his plaything and assumes the 3 forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. That Krishna began to reply, lovingly displaying his all-attractive smile. Krishna said, yes, I shall describe to you the principles of devotion to me, which a mortal human being, executing which, a mortal human being will conquer unconquerable death. Now he comes to the key verse. Always remembering me. Always remembering me. One should perform all his duties for me. Okay? One is to remember Krishna, and everything you do it for him. That's called love. Everything I do it for you. Right? With mind, intelligence offered to me. One should fix his mind in attraction to my devotional service. The same statement is said in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text number 34, where he says, Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mamevaishyasi yuktva evam atmanam matparayana. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer your obeisances, your namaskar, your respects to me, and worship me, being completely absorbed in me. Surely you will come to me. The key word here is absorbed. Surely you will come to me. And that's the promise. So be completely absorbed, and surely you will come to me. And again, he repeats this in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 65. Manmana bhava mad bhakto. The same beginning lines. Madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mam evaishyasi satyam te pratijani priyosi me. A little twist later on. Always think of me. Become my devotee. Mad bhakta, he says. Mad bhakta. Manmana bhava mad bhakta means always think of me. Mad bhakta means become my devotee. He is not saying become a devotee of this divine within all things. No, no, no. Mad is mine. Mad bhakta. Mad yaji mam namaskuru. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Again, the promise is repeated. So we hear it in the Bhagavatam, we hear it in the Gita. Then Krishna says, one should take shelter of holy places where my saintly devotees reside. Not holy places just for the sake of the place. The place becomes holy by the presence of the saintly persons who live there. Right? So one should take shelter of the holy places where my saintly devotees reside. And one should be guided by the exemplary activities of my devotees who appear among the devas, the asuras, and human beings. It's a very, very interesting statement. He says, my devotees are spread out everywhere. They are there amongst the demigods, amongst the asuras, demons, and even amongst the human beings. And one should be guided by the exemplary activities of my devotees. See, it's very important. When you teach something but do not follow it, you do not do what you say, you do not follow through with your words, then those words are meaningless. If a parent is smoking but tells the child not to smoke, the child is not going to listen. What nonsense. The parent is lying, telling the kid, don't tell anyone that I'm home right now. They're lying. You can bet on it. The kid's going to learn how to lie. So you cannot instruct someone about something that you yourself do not do. There's a story of a Brahmin who he was approached by this lady and she said, my son is so fond of eating sweets. You must tell him not to eat sweets. It's very bad for him. The Brahmin said, well, you know what? Come back in 2 weeks. I'll tell him then. And so this woman went away and came back later on 2 weeks later with her son. And then the Brahmin said, boy, sweets are not good for you. You have to stop eating them, okay? And the mom said, why didn't you say this 2 weeks ago? Why did you make me come back all the way? He said, because 2 weeks ago, I was still eating sweets and I did not have the authority or the power to be able to tell your child to do something that I myself was doing. Right? To not do something that I myself was doing. But now I stopped eating sweets and I can tell him, yes, with complete clarity and authority that is not a good thing for him. Krishna then continues, either alone or in public gatherings, with singing, dancing, and other exhibitions of royal opulence, one should arrange to celebrate those holy days, ceremonies, and festivals set aside specially for my worship. So now it's very important to understand that bhakti is not just about sitting in meditation. It is not passive. It is very active. It is very dynamic. It is a celebration of life. Where there is singing, where you chant the holy names of God, where there is dancing, where you dance in kirtan to his name, where there is worship of the deity, dressing the deity with beautiful outfits, coming to see the deity and how wonderful they've been decorated and dressed every day with beautiful garlands and costume and outfit and jewelry. All of that is part of the worship. The worship is dynamic. Everything we do it as an offering for Krishna. Everything we eat is given and first offered to him. Everything that we think about, we try to focus our mind on him as much as possible. For most of us, we're still not at the point of always doing that, but we're working our way there. Then he says something very important. With a pure heart, one should see me, the Supreme Soul, within all beings and also within oneself. To be unblemished by anything material and also present everywhere. See, he says, I am unblemished, unadulterated, not in any way diminished, in any way distorted, in any way made less by anything material. See, even although I am within matter, I am not contaminated by it. That's what he's saying. So one should see me, the Supreme Soul, within all beings and also within oneself. Unblemished by anything material and also present everywhere, both externally and internally, just like the omnipresent sky. This here is going to be the key piece. So pay attention. O brilliant Uddhava, one who thus views all living entities with the idea that I am present within each of them, and who by taking shelter of this divine knowledge offers due respect to everyone, is considered actually wise. Such a person sees equally the Brahmin, the outcast, the thief, the charitable promoter of Brahminical culture, the sun, and the tiny sparks of life, as in all the different life forms, the gentle and the cruel. This is so powerful. People say they love God, but then they go out and they hate each other. If you're Christian, then you hate the Muslims and the Jew, whatever, the Hindus and whatever else. If you're Hindus and if you're Muslims and you hate all the others. This is the way of religion. But this is not the way of bhakti. This is not the way of God. This is not the way of Krishna. He's making it very clear. I am present within everyone. And therefore, one must be respectful to everyone. Such a person is considered actually wise. One who sees me present within everyone, including the thief, including the priest, including the homeless person, including you name it, from the worst of people to the best of people. He says, I am present in every one of them. I am present in every creature, big or small. I am present in every plant. I am present in everything. I am everywhere. You see, seeing equality does not mean denying differences. It means differences no longer define the worth. You are not more special because you have more money or because you're more knowledgeable or because you're a great priest or you're a famous movie star. No. Your worth is not defined by your externals. You are not greater because you're a philanthropist and bad because you're a thief. This dualistic concept needs to be gotten rid of. The concepts of good and evil, the concepts of right and wrong, they are an impediment on the path of spirituality. Equality means to see everyone as the same. But how do you do that? You cannot see everyone as the same because we all look different. And we do different things. Some do very good things, some do very bad things. So how can you see everyone as the same? That can only happen when you see the presence of God within everyone. When you recognize that my dear beloved Lord is present within every single being, and therefore every single person and every single creature and everything that exists needs to be treated with the utmost respect. That is the way of living Krishna is talking and really emphasizing here. He's pointing out that the thief and the philanthropist, the gentle and the cruel, are all worthy of respect, not because of what they do, not because they are good or bad, but because within all of them resides the one supreme being in many forms. Wisdom is seeing the one behind the many. Then Krishna says, for him who constantly meditates upon my presence within all persons, the bad tendencies of rivalry, envy, abusiveness, along with false ego are very quickly destroyed. Think about it. The moment you become respectful to everyone and non-judgment will be natural. Envy will no longer be part of your way of living. Rivalry, abusiveness, none of that. No false ego, I'm better than you. No, I have more than you and therefore I'm better than you. I am smarter than you. I am more famous than you, or I'm more rich than you. Therefore I'm somehow better. No, we all live for that. The ego lives for that. But we will have annihilated the ego. In the purport it is written, we conditioned souls tend to feel rivalry towards our equals, envy towards our superiors, and the desire to belittle our subordinates. These contaminated propensities, along with their basis, false ego, can be quickly vanquished by meditating upon the supreme personality of Godhead within every living being. Then Krishna says, disregarding the ridicule of one's companions, one should give up the bodily conception and its accompanying embarrassment. So this is again a very, very powerful line. That means that even if someone ridicules you, disregard them. Why? What are they ridiculing? They're not ridiculing the presence of God within you. They're not. They're not even talking about your soul. They might be talking about your body. They might be ridiculing the way you dressed today, the thing you did the other day. They might be making fun of you. They might be criticizing you. They might be judging you. They might even be calling you names. But disregard it. Because all of that is in the bodily conception of life. And if you are able to disregard it, then you will not feel the embarrassment. One should offer obeisances, respects, namaste to all beings, even dogs, even the outcasts, even the cows and donkeys falling flat upon the ground like a rod. Until one has fully developed the ability to see me within all beings, one should continue to worship me by the process with the activities of his speech, mind, and body. So, it's not the easiest thing to do, but one should take all that he has said about think of me always. See, the easiest thing to think of him always. How do I think of God always? Well, think that he is in everything and everyone. You will start seeing him everywhere. Therefore, you will think of him always. It's not hard. Right? Everyone who comes across. And how do you think of him? Maybe you can't even think. Just in your heart, offer respect. That's the starting point. Just this simple act of offering respect to every creature and every person immediately reminds you, even without your thinking about it, just the physical act reminds you that you are honoring the presence of God within that person. Right there, without doing anything further, immediately your body now connects to the mind, which connects to the soul, and is bringing you to that highest platform. One simple act. By such transcendental knowledge of the all-pervading personality of Godhead, one is able to see the absolute truth everywhere. Freed thus from all doubts, one gives up karmic activities. So the moment you start seeing Krishna everywhere and in everything, you will rise beyond the field of karma. Karma is all about selfishness. It's about I, me, and mine. It's all about I want to be the enjoyer. Therefore, even those who say, I just want to be a good person. No. You want to be a good person and do good deeds so that you will have some good karma and some good heavenly enjoyment as a result of that good karma. You will have more money, you will have more better looks, you will have all kinds of good facility. All of that is selfish. All of that is not spiritual. It is based upon the same egoic principle, I, me, and mine. Aham mameti. This is the key thing that keeps us bound to this world. To be spiritual is to follow the pathway that frees us from this world. While we are in this world, we are free of it. And that will not happen as long as we are identified with this body or the things of this world. Krishna continues, indeed, I consider this process using one's mind, words, and bodily functions for realizing me within all beings to be the best possible method of spiritual enlightenment. What is the best method of spiritual enlightenment according to the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Being, the Supreme Godhead? What is the best method of spiritual enlightenment? To use one's mind, words, and bodily functions for realizing Krishna within all living beings. This he declares here to be the best possible method of spiritual enlightenment. My dear Uddhava, because I have personally established it, this process of devotional service unto me is transcendental and free from material motivation. Certainly a devotee never suffers even the slightest loss by adopting this process. O Uddhava, greatest of saints, in a dangerous situation, an ordinary person cries, becomes fearful, and laments, although such useless emotions do not change the situation. But activities offered to me without personal motivation, even if they are externally useless, amount to the actual process of religion. Let's go back. So he gives the comparison of a person who's in a dangerous situation, and this person cries and becomes fearful and laments, although these emotions do not actually change the situation. But then he compares that to activities offered to him, to Krishna, to God, without personal motivation. Right? You're worshiping him, not because you're going to get something out of it. You're chanting his name, not because you want something from chanting his name, but because you want to only come closer to him. That is the only motivation. I want you. I want to love you. I want nothing else. Anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam. That one does not even get attached to knowledge or to wealth or to any good positive outcome. One leaves aside all desire, all motivation, all personal motivation, and simply says, Krishna, your happiness is my happiness. And I am yours. Tavayasmi, tavayasmi, tavayasmi. I am yours, I am yours, I am yours. So when you do that, that is real dharma. That is Sanatan Dharma. That is the actual process of what religion is meant to be. In the purport is written, even the most insignificant activity, when offered to the Supreme Lord without personal desire, can elevate one to the perfection of spiritual life. Actually, Sri Krishna always protects and maintains his devotees. But if a devotee cries out to him for protection or maintenance, desiring to continue his devotional service unimpeded, Sri Krishna accepts such apparently unnecessary appeals to be of the highest religious process. See, we call out to him sometimes to protect us, to take care of us, to maintain us, but there is no need for that, because in fact he's already doing that without our asking. Our asking is unnecessary, completely unnecessary. But even if you were to ask, then always make sure that it is for his service that you are asking, that you may continue to serve him, that you may continue to be connected to him. Now you are in a relationship. And in a relationship, if a child asks the parent, or the husband asks the wife, or the wife asks the husband for something that they need, on one hand, you're already being taken care of without asking. And sometimes you may still ask. But again, it's in relationship to that person. That is love. This process, Krishna says, is the supreme intelligence of the intelligent and the cleverness of the most clever. For by following it, one can in this very life make use of the temporary and the unreal to achieve me, who am the eternal reality. So Krishna is the eternal reality. This world is the temporary reality. It's not that it's not real. People say, Tattvamas, that I am not. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. The world is mithya. The world is an illusion. It is an illusion, but that doesn't mean it's not real. It is a very real illusion. So this real illusion is and this is because it's temporary, and in that sense unreal. So we use the temporary. We use that which is illusory to serve Krishna, who is the eternal reality. And this is called bhakti, devotional service. Krishna says, whatever you do as work, do it as an offering unto me. Then he continues, thus I have related to you both in brief and in detail a complete survey of the science of the absolute truth. Even for the devas, the demigods, this science is very difficult to comprehend. I have repeatedly spoken this knowledge to you with clear reasoning. Anyone who properly understands it will become free from all doubts and attain liberation. So, why is it difficult for the devas to comprehend this? Actually, they may logically and intellectually understand this, but what is difficult for the devas, the demigods, and including for us, what is difficult is giving up our sensory enjoyment, giving up our egoic idea of this is me, and this is mine, and this is what I have done, and this is who I am. This is difficult. This is difficult to achieve. And therefore, Krishna is giving us a very beautiful, simple way to do it. He says, anyone who fixes attention on these clear answers to your questions will attain to the eternal, confidential goal of the Vedas, which is the supreme absolute truth. What is that supreme absolute truth? What is that param satyam? That is Vasudevi sarvam miti sa mahatma sudurlabha. The one who knows that Vasudeva, Krishna, is sarvam, everything. Vasudeva is sarvam iti. Such a person, sa mahatma, such a great soul, is sudurlabha, is very rarely found. And you're very fortunate to come across someone like that. Someone who has understood that Vasudeva, Krishna, is sarvam, he is everything. Krishna continues, one who literally disseminates this knowledge, matlab teaches others, among my devotees, who disseminates this knowledge among my devotees, is the bestower of the absolute truth, and to him I give my very own self. So he says, I give myself to this person. Who? The person who disseminates this knowledge among my devotees. He who loudly recites this supreme knowledge, which is the most lucid and purifying, becomes purified day by day, for he reveals me to others with the lamp of transcendental knowledge. So in other words, if you're serving Krishna by teaching others about these things, then he gives himself to you. He who is everything becomes yours. You are his and he is yours. Then he says, anyone who regularly listens to this knowledge with faith and attention, all the while engaging in my pure devotional service, will never become bound by the reactions of material work or by karma. So how is that? Anyone who regularly listens to this knowledge with faith and attention, all the while engaging in my pure, uncontaminated, unmotivated devotional service, will never become bound by the reactions of karma. My dear friend Uddhava, I have now completely understood. Have you now completely understood this transcendental knowledge? Are the confusion and lamentation that arose in your mind now dispelled? It's a similar question he had asked Arjun. He says, have your doubts been dispelled? Have your illusion been cleared? And then Arjun said to him, yes, I am ready to do whatever you wish. The same thing is said by Uddhava here. Krishna then says, you should not share this instruction with anyone who is hypocritical, atheistic, or dishonest, or with anyone who will not listen faithfully, who is not a devotee, or is simply not humble. So there's a very clear criteria. Do not share this information with someone who is not a devotee, who is not humble, who is hypocritical, atheistic, or dishonest, or who will not listen faithfully. This knowledge should be taught to one who is free from these bad qualities, who is dedicated to the welfare of the Brahmins, and who is kindly disposed, saintly and pure. And if common workers and women are found to have devotion for the Supreme Lord, they are also to be accepted as qualified hearers. When an inquisitive person comes to understand this knowledge, he has nothing further to know. See, this is the king of all knowledge. When you come to understand this knowledge, there is nothing further to be known. After all, one who has drunk the most palatable nectar cannot remain thirsty. Through analytic knowledge, ritualistic work, mystic yoga, mundane business, and political rule, people seek to advance in religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So people do all these mystic yoga and karmic work and mundane business and all politics and so on and so forth, only to advance in material life. But because Krishna says, because you are my devotee, whatever men can accomplish in these multifarious ways, you will very easily find me. So in other words, you can do all those things. But when you do it with devotion, when you do it as an offering to me, through those very tasks, you will find me. A person who gives up all karmic activities and offers himself entirely unto me, eagerly desiring to render service unto me, achieves liberation from birth and death, and is promoted to the status of sharing my opulences. God has all opulences. He is Bhagavan. He is Bhagya. All great good fortune is His. And He wants to share it with you. He wants to share all His opulences with you. He wants to free you from the cycle of birth and death. He wants to give Himself to you. And what does He ask in return? That you be willing to give yourself to Him. So the person who gives up all karmic activities and offers himself entirely to me, eagerly desiring to render service unto me, achieves liberation from birth and death and is promoted to the status of sharing my opulences. What are your opulences? Even if you were a multi-billionaire, even if you were the richest person on earth, your opulences are nothing compared to Krishna's. And He wants to share His opulences with you eternally. In this life, you will leave behind whatever wealth you have. You will leave behind everything. But He's saying, I want you to share my opulences eternally. What He's offering to you is billions and trillions of times more than anything you have or will ever have in this world. He is offering Himself. And what is He asking? To offer yourself to Him. That's the simple trade. Meera said the same thing. I gave myself to Him and He gave Himself to me. And that the bargain was very sweet. I came out the winner. He accepted me who am so messed up, who am so unworthy, who am so insignificant. He took this tiny, insignificant, broken piece of glass and gave me a treasure house of wealth, which is Himself. Then Krishna says, hearing these words spoken by Sri Krishna and having thus been shown the entire path of yoga, Uddhava folded his hands to offer obeisances. Of course, when he's saying shown the entire path of yoga, that's over the past few episodes of the Uddhava Gita where Krishna was instructing Uddhava. So having been shown the entire path of yoga, Uddhava folded his hands to offer obeisances, but his throat choked up with love and his eyes overflowed with tears, so he could say nothing. Steadying his mind, which had become overwhelmed with love, Uddhava felt extremely grateful to Krishna the greatest hero of the Yadu dynasty. Uddhava bowed down to touch Krishna's lotus feet with his head and then spoke with folded hands. Uddhava said, "O unborn, primeval Lord," primeval man, who is Anadi, who has no beginning, who is unborn, who is Aja, right? O primeval, unborn, Supreme Lord, although I had fallen into the great illusion, darkness of illusion, my ignorance has now been dispelled by your merciful association. Indeed, how cold, darkness, and fear exert their power over one who has approached the brilliant sun. He says, I don't know how it was that this came about, that I fell into this place of cold, darkness, and fear. But actually what was happening was Uddhava was sensing Krishna is about to leave. And he didn't know how to express that fear. Then Uddhava says, in return for my insignificant surrender, you have mercifully bestowed upon me, your servant, the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Therefore, what devotee of yours who has any gratitude could ever give up your lotus feet and take shelter of another? The firmly binding rope of my affection for the families, Dasharas, Vrishnis, Andakas, and Sattvatas, a rope you originally cast over me by your Maya, your illusory energy for the purpose of developing your creation, is now cut off by the weapon of transcendental knowledge of the self. So what he's saying here is, although the members of the families mentioned in this verse are eternal associates of Krishna and thus proper objects of affection, Uddhava had regarded them as his personal relatives rather than simply as pure devotees of the Lord. So all the people who came with Krishna, all the people that lived in Dwarka were all pure devotees of Krishna. Now Uddhava was related to them as a family member. He took them as his personal relatives. So what he's saying now is that influenced by Krishna's, teachings, Uddhava has, when earlier Uddhava had been in illusion, basically had desired prosperity and victory for his family, for his dynasty. But now on hearing Krishna's instructions, he has again fixed his mind exclusively upon Krishna, and thus he regards his so-called family members without any mundane conception and sees them as eternal servants of Krishna. Uddhava continues, obeisances unto you, O greatest of yogis, he's referring to Krishna. Please instruct me, who am surrendered unto you, how I may have undeviating attachment to your lotus feet. Krishna then says, my dear Uddhava, take my order and go to my ashram called Bhadrik. So he's saying, go to Bhadrik ashram, purify yourself by both touching and also bathing in the holy waters there, which have emanated from my lotus feet. He's referring to the Ganga. Rid yourself of all sinful reactions with the sight of the sacred Alaknanda river. Okay. Dress yourself in bark and eat whatever is naturally available in the forest. Thus you should remain content and free from desire, tolerant of all dualities, good-natured, self-controlled, peaceful, and endowed with transcendental knowledge and realization. With fixed attention, meditate constantly upon these instructions I have imparted to you and assimilate their essence. Fix your words and thoughts upon me. Always endeavor to increase your realization of my transcendental qualities. In this way, you will cross beyond the destination of the three modes of nature and finally come back to me. Thus addressed by Sri Krishna, whose intelligence destroys all the sufferings of material life, Uddhava circumambulated Supreme Lord and then fell down, placing his head upon Krishna's feet. Although Uddhava was free from the influence of all material dualities, his heart was breaking. And at this time of departure, he drenched Krishna's lotus feet with his tears. Greatly fearing separation from Krishna, for whom he felt such indestructible affection, Uddhava was distraught, and he could not give up Krishna's company. Finally, feeling great pain, he bowed down to Krishna again and again, placed the slippers of his master upon his head, and departed. It was very heartbreaking for Uddhava. Uddhava had been so close to Krishna for years, for decades. And now Krishna was telling him to go. Because Krishna himself was going to leave the planet. He didn't want Uddhava to be there at that time. Thereupon, placing Krishna deeply within his heart, the great devotee Uddhava went to Bhadrik ashram. By engaging there in austerities, he attained the Supreme Lord's personal abode, which had been described to him by the only friend of the universe, Sri Krishna himself. It's interesting how they refer to Krishna as the only friend of the universe. See, that's what it is. Krishna is your only friend, your eternal friend, your forever friend. Thus, Sri Krishna, whose lotus feet are served by all great yoga masters, spoke to his devotee this nectarian knowledge which comprises the entire ocean of spiritual bliss. Anyone within this universe who receives this narration with great faith is assured of liberation. I offer my obeisances to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original and greatest of all beings, Sri Krishna. He is the author of the Vedas, and just to destroy his devotees' fear of material existence, like a bee, he has collected this nectarian essence of all knowledge and self-realization. You know how a bee goes to all the flowers, it gathers all the nectar from the flowers and then comes back to the hive. So Krishna has taken the essence of all knowledge and presented it to us here. Thus he has awarded to his many devotees this nectar from the ocean of bliss, and by his mercy they have drunk it. In the purport it is said, just as a bee extracts nectar from a flower without harming the flower, Sri Krishna extracts the essence of all Vedic knowledge without disturbing the elaborate system of Vedic advancement. In other words, Krishna establishes himself as the goal of Vedic knowledge without destroying preliminary, inferior processes that may be applicable to grossly materialistic person. Krishna says in the Gita, Vedaischa sarvair aham eva vedya. He says, I am the knower of the Vedas, and by all the Vedas I am to be known. Sri Shukadev Goswami thus concludes by offering his obeisances to the spiritual master of the entire universe, Lord Sri Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. We will continue in the next week with the last part of this 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm here every Tuesday until the end of the Bhagavatam. I'll be here reading all the way to the end of the 12th canto. But thank you so much for coming. All the recordings are there of the entire Bhagavatam on my website. You can just type in @Rohit Juneja on YouTube, and you will find my website. Look for the playlist that says, it's called Divine Love Podcast, right? So look for that, and you'll be able to find all the recordings starting from the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's also the entire Bhagavad Gita. But do listen, do follow, and I'll see you next week, Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, Tuesdays. Hare Krishna.